I applied to 124 new grad entry-level positions last year, and here's how and what I learned. So in this video, I will be talking about how I even found 124 new grad entry-level software engineering jobs to apply to. Then I'll be going over if it was worth it. After that, I'll be going over whether I would do it again and what I would do differently. So how did I do it? Last year, my new grad full-time offer fell through, so I needed a backup. It was already December, which is towards the end of the application season, and I had to find a job fast, which seemed kind of difficult with the way the economy was looking. So in order to even find these 124 new grad software engineering entry-level positions, I went on levels.fyi in order to look at the most highest paying software engineering companies in the areas that I wanted to work for. Specifically, I looked at an entry-level or software engineering 1 role and the salary for that. And then I went to Google, found these companies, looked on their websites, and applied to any open positions they had. Another great tip for finding new grad roles is to look at top paying companies for internships. A lot of companies that have internship programs also tend to have new grad programs. Other ways I found places to apply to was through simple Google searches, looking at GitHub pages that exist with a whole list of places you can apply to. There are people out there who sit there and make these for free, so I use them. Another tip I have for applying is while applying, it can get repetitive and tedious to fill out the same resume information for each company. Over this time period, I created so many Workday accounts and I literally had to put in information multiple times. If you've applied to jobs before, you probably know what I'm talking about and you know how annoying it could be. A tool that made my process a whole lot easier was this Chrome web extension called Simplify, which automatically fills out the resume portion of your job application. A lot of times when I'm applying, a simple pop-up shows up and it says fill automatically, and it has information I already entered in to the web extension that it automatically fills out into my application. I then usually review the application, make any changes or edits I need, and I submit it, and it makes my whole process a whole lot easier. So next, on to the results. Out of the 124 companies I applied to, 65 of them ghosted me, which is honestly annoying because they have an application up, but they don't even care to follow through. 5 of these companies messaged me back saying they were full. 5 of them sent out coding assessments, but once I completed them, they never responded. I did really well on these coding assessments, by the way. I literally got perfect scores on all of them. I still got ghosted. I literally finished these coding assessments with 40 minutes of free time left, and I sat there and I made my code look pretty and nice and really concise. And then months later, a few of them reached out and said, sorry, we don't have any availabilities right now. The rest of these companies, which is probably around 45 of them, just rejected me off of my resume. So I got my offer for the current company I work at by going to my school's career fair. If a company is coming to a career fair, chances are they're hiring. So applying online really didn't do much for me. But if I were to do it again, would I do it? To me, I didn't have a job and that was my #1 priority. And since applying was a way to focus on that and try to fix that issue, I would 100% do it again. So to be honest, I was applying kind of late in the application cycle because I didn't know that I would need to be searching for a job. So my chances were already kind of reduced. A lot of these positions hire on a rolling basis, so by the time it's December, January, they aren't really gonna be looking for new people. I literally had perfect scores on coding assessments, but I still didn't get called in for an interview. It might have been with how the market was, but reflecting back, here are some things I wish I did differently while applying. It's important to start early when you're applying. A lot of times, even if you are qualified, if you apply late, you might not even end up getting the job that you wanted. This is because a lot of the companies hire on a rolling basis, so if they already fill up the spots, they don't have room for any new talent. One thing I did was, after finding out my new grad return offer went down the drain, I took some time before starting to apply because I was like, okay, now I need to prepare and do some leak code. So I'm gonna do that first before I apply. Big mistake. I was already super late to the whole application season, and taking more time before applying was only gonna hurt me. I didn't even really get to use my leak code practice because I wasn't even landing jobs. I feel like the best I could have done was apply and simultaneously do leak code at the same time. Another thing I wish I did was to tailor my resume to each job I was applying to. You can apply all you want, but if your resume isn't good, you're gonna struggle finding jobs. Your resume is the first thing that a company sees about you, so it's important to make the best impression on your resume. You should spend a lot of time polishing and refining your resume. If you need some resume tips, make sure to check out my other video on the resume that got me into Amazon. If I spent more time making sure my resume matches the keywords in the job description and tailoring it to each job I applied to, I could have probably scored a few more interviews. I also wish I used LinkedIn to my advantage and networked more. I was already kind of doing this, but if I did this more, I could have probably found a few more job opportunities. This means reaching out to recruiters on LinkedIn. Lastly, I would have also tried to see if there were any ways I could get referrals, because referrals can really help you put your foot in through the door. I also wish I never got too comfortable with my role and also continued applying vigorously at the beginning of the job application season. One thing I noticed while I was applying though is a lot of the entry-level job listings that I saw, if you scroll down and looked at the details and the requirements for the job, a lot of them said that they require 2+ years or 5+ years of experience for an entry-level position. Maybe the listing was just put up wrong, but I noticed this in a lot of places. Over COVID, a lot of these big tech companies just kept hiring and hiring and hiring. And now that the economy is in a recession, a lot of these companies decided to cut back on workers, and that's why you've been hearing about big tech layoffs. I've even had a recruiter from Apple reach out to me, but as soon as the market went bad, the Apple recruiter ghosted me. So right now there's a lot of qualified professionals out there in the job market also applying at the same exact time. So inherently, a lot of these new grads searching for roles were also competing with people who worked in big tech and have years of experience. And as a company, you're probably gonna lean towards picking an experienced developer. That leaves the new grads kind of in a helpless situation. I feel like a lot of the reason why I didn't get a job out of the 124 places I applied to was due to the economy and the time I was applying it. But I feel like I had a lot of the right approach in applying and trying to get a job. It does hurt every time you open up an email that starts off with, "Unfortunately, we decided to move on to another applicant," but it's a completely necessary and a normal part of the application process. It doesn't matter if you've been rejected 100 times. It only takes one offer in order to be employed. Finding a job is not easy, but perseverance and consistency will help you reach your goals. Who knows, you might just be one application away from landing your dream job. So that's enough for me for today. If you have any more questions about how I applied, make sure to leave a comment down below, or you can also message me. Thank you guys so much for watching, and please make sure to like and subscribe.